the MMR vaccine, the measles vaccine, pretty much for a time ended measles cases. But the vaccine wanes, and also a lot of people don't get vaccinated. And the outbreaks are mainly taking place in unvaccinated communities, but there's also some vaccinated people that get sick. The vaccine wanes about a little over 4% per year. Mm-hmm. That means a lot of older people are walking around with very little protection, if any protection. And there's the most famous infectious disease, the number one infectious disease expert in the world in 1963 when they put in this vaccine. But Sir Graham Wilson said, at that time, he said, this vaccine is a leaky vaccine, and ultimately it's going to wane. And the problem, I'm going to say, first of all, the measles vaccine works. So if you take that vaccine, you're unlikely to get measles. You're much less likely to get measles than if you don't. And, HHS continues to recommend that vaccine. But there are problems with the vaccine. And, the problem is really with the mumps portion of the vaccine and the combination. And it was never safety tested. That combination was never safety tested, and people just assume that, if the three separate vaccines were safe, and when you combine them, they would also be safe. But we now know there's some viral interference. And the combination vaccines seem to be linked to a lot of adverse events that they were not getting from the separate vaccine. So. Yeah. The mumps part of the vaccine has never worked. It was actually Merck, which made the vaccine, was sued recently in a whistleblower case by the lab technician who was ordered to commit fraud. His name is John Kraling. And that case was thrown out on a technicality, but we learned a lot about that vaccine that is disturbing. And what we're seeing is we're seeing a lot of mumps cases in older people, which would be a paradoxical effect of the vaccine because the childhood mumps is usually a benign disease. But if you get it when you're older, it can cause sterility and a lot of other adverse events. So we're now, for the first time, nobody's ever looked at the safety science on these before.
But do you recommend people take the MMR vaccine?
We are recommending that at this point, but we're also doing studies on it.
Okay, you're checking it out, but for the meantime, you tell people...
What we're saying is, if you want to avoid measles, and if you want to avoid spreading measles, the best thing you can do is take that vaccine.
All right.